Hey guys, this is Bharadwaj with FoneArena.com and I have the Intex Aqua HD in my hands that we recently unboxed. So a lot of people have been asking us like how's the camera and how's the camera performance, and the main reason why you guys are asking is obvious because Intex's range in the mid-range, this is the only 13 megapixel camera out there, so retailing for about 14,999. This phone is probably only one of the very few that has the 13 megapixel camera unit, and as you can see behind, pretty huge sensor, or probably they have made it that way. It's covered by a chrome ring, and there is a single LED flash, but unfortunately there is no secondary microphone for recording stereo audio in video. So that's the 13 megapixel camera out there. So let's see what the camera interface is like before we talk about the camera performance. So this is the camera UI. Pretty nicely done, much like the custom UI that Intex have done with the rest of the OS. This camera UI too is pretty nice. So as you can see, it's pretty minimal too. Over at the top, you have 3 buttons: flash toggle, front facing camera toggle. The front facing camera is a 5 megapixel unit and is pretty nice. As you can see from the image quality here, this image quality is pretty nice for the 5 megapixel unit. So the buttons always don't register, so that's one thing we have noticed with the UI. It was really hard to use the options button because it kept focusing like it happens right now. And yeah, that's how you go to the options, but we'll get to that later. There is a separate page for video, so you can switch between stills and video with this toggle. The shutter button, of course, and the camera thumbnail, but you can also slide to access the camera. But this one, the eye-like thing that's here at the tab, has plenty of filters here. So that's one main UI element that you notice on the main interface. So tons of effects and filters. So lots of them, some of them inspired from Instagram, some of them really nice, like selective color, and then some gimmicky things like relic, pencil, but some of these make the UI really slow. So for example, the poster, the pencil, these make the UI really slow. And this is one really Instagram-like filter there. So yeah, lots of filters, and you can also have face beautification here. So those are in the in this tab. Now moving into options, you can see that the UI is pretty bright. So let's tone down the brightness a little bit. Yeah. So you can see toggles for HDR, smart self timer, smart magic. We'll get into smart magic. Panorama, smile shot, zero shutter delay, pretty normal stuff for the MediaTek cameras. So 3D mode is the multi-angle view sweep panorama mode, and you can see that it can take 13 megapixels, 4:3, 4:3. So 16:9, you can take 10 megapixels. That's what's there. Face detection, capture mode. Capture mode is the normal mode, EV bracket shot, smile shot, all that you see on the MediaTek cameras. You can change the white balance, and there's also another level of menu called camera settings, which has in-depth settings for image parameters like exposure, sharpness, brightness, ISO, and all that things. So the camera interface is not that intuitive, but quick access to all the important modes is there, so that's good. Smart Magic mode takes you to a different app. So this is just Scalado Remove implemented in a separate app, not inside the camera UI. So it takes a burst shot of many images and removes the moving object. So that's what it does, and it's pretty simple. So moving back to the camera. So that was the interface of the Intex Aqua HD. So let's switch to the video mode and see if the options change. They must, and they did. So microphone, you can turn it on and off. It records 1080p video at 30 fps. You can change the video duration, and there's a professional mode that will take you to time-lapse interval, color effects, white balance, and then another level, camera settings, which will let you change video quality, fine as 1080p, and normal and other things are lesser resolutions. You can change the storage location, and you also have electronic image stabilization in video, which is software based. But yeah, and also you have all the image parameters that you can change just like in these stills. So yeah, unintuitive UI, because you have to dig into menus for a lot of things. We hope that they had done some toggles on the left. That would have been a lot nicer. And you can also you can not even exit from the menus by pressing on the outside of the menu. You have to hit the done. So that's the unintuitive UI of the Intex Aqua HD. But what about the camera performance? So we took a lot of samples in daylight, macro, low light, HDR and video. So let's take a look at the samples now. First up, daylight. Take a look at how it performs in daylight. So as you saw from the samples, the daylight samples are just average. So even in brightly lit conditions, the 13 megapixel camera takes just average photos. The colors are very muted, and the detail is just not there. We expected a lot more. So there is aggressive noise reduction, aggressive compression. So everything looks soft and very unrealistic. So we didn't expect this bad of a performance from the 13 megapixel camera, but it was so bad that the usual text that we could read over here, which says Reliance Mobile, could not even be read on this camera. So that's one aspect of the daylight samples. Even in well lit conditions, very simple detail, it does not register that much. But it does take decent pictures, not too bad, but considering that there is a lack of detail and muted colors, we would have preferred it to do much better. Now moving on to macro samples, the close-up samples are slightly better. But then we also expected a lot more details to be captured in the macro mode, but that is not the case. So anyway, take a look at some of the samples here. So as you saw with the samples, the details are not quite there, but it is much better than the normal daylight shots. You could see that some of the samples like this one has nicely detailed texture, but then muted colors and high noise reduction seems to be a part of all the pictures in the Intex Aqua HD. So now let's talk about the low light performance. The low light performance of the camera, considering the daylight itself is just average, is of course really bad. It's completely noisy and details are just not there. So low light samples are pretty much just average. So take a look at some samples and decide for yourself. So now we talked about the low light samples and the daylight samples, macro, etc. So these were just stills. Now let's see a video sample and see how it performed in our video test. And again, as you saw from the video sample, the details are just not there, and the performance too in terms of metering is horrible. So the metering was way off. The video was completely dark when the situation was not exactly dark, and due to the metering, the entire video had a lot of noise because of a lot of underexposure. So that's one thing we noticed with the video, and we think a lot of work needs to be done here in terms of software. So we think the software is not as good, it could be better, and the 13 megapixel sensor is supposedly decent, so I guess the software is at fault here. So yeah, that's the camera review of the Intex Aqua HD. You saw all the samples, still samples and video samples. The camera is just average. We think Intex could have done a little bit better. The Canvas 4 takes better images than this, and that says a lot. So that's it for the camera review. Thanks for watching the video. We hope you liked it, and if you did, do hit the like button and do hit the subscribe button for more videos like these. Thanks for watching, and let us know what you think in the comment section below.